So, Charlie Schreiber,
Mm-hmm.
you are in Jersey?
I'm in New Jersey. Yep.
Hmm.
USA.
Yeah, USA. Okay, good to know. Good to know. But you moved quite recently, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah. I was in Pennsylvania for 4 years and then came back to Jersey to settle once and for all.
Once and for all, you say?
Yeah. I think my wife and I
That's.
are about to close on our forever home. So
Oh,
this is
really?
foreseeable future. Yes, really. I know. Very far from rock, but it's a great place to be. Very close to her family, very close to her friends, our friends. And it's not too far of a trip to go directly north up to the Gunks or some good New York rock and then got everything up there. But I just got to get there.
And plenty of gyms, right?
So many gyms,
Yeah.
unfathomable amount of gyms within an hour drive.
And you can always make 3D replicas of everything.
Exactly. Now I can just bring any boulder to me. Can save
Oh,
all that money.
that's going to be China in a couple of years. Like all the climbing areas are going to be in China, but replicas
Indoors. That will be
indoors.
Cool.
Yeah, with a perfect climate.
Is that a thing? Do we have indication of that becoming a reality?
None other than I just said so. But other than that, it's like.
And now they know. So
yeah.
But then again, we are the CIA, so I don't know what to say.
Keep it under wraps.
Yeah. Well, I just didn't, I guess.
Yeah. No.
Spill the beans. Anyway, Charlie Schreiber,
Yes.
we need to start off with some background, like because I mean you're a well-known figure in a lot of ways, but I'm sure there are some of our listeners, very few listeners, who actually don't know much about you. So let's start with the climbing. How did it start? Did it choose you, or did you choose climbing?
Ooh. I don't even know how to discern between the two, but I definitely think kind of a little bit of both. I was a jock growing up until I was about 13. I had every single week fully booked with multiple sports depending on the season. I was on tons of different teams and then got into skateboarding and loved that because it was a little different, more creative. Wasn't a team sport. I could participate in it whenever I wanted. I had horrendous ADHD as a kid, but was undiagnosed until I was 14. And really loved the individual aspect of skating and that I could engage in it in any way I wanted, whenever I wanted, and take it to new places and different domains whenever I had the opportunity. And I went to a skate park that was near my house, about 7 minutes away, but I hadn't been there in years. And I went there on a whim. We were driving on a long trip with my parents up north, and I was passing it. And I just asked them about a minute out, hey, I need a new helmet. Could we just check out the skate park? I need a new skating helmet. And it was no longer a skate park. It was a rock climbing gym. And I walked in there, and I've never had this moment again in my entire life. And I hadn't until that point, but it was probably the most spiritual and just powerful emotion that I've ever had when I walked in there. And it was just the most unbelievable thing I'd ever seen. It checked every box that I knew I had and many that I didn't even know existed. I just knew instantly that it was something that I wanted to do a lot and that I would love. So I tried it. I absolutely loved it. I begged them to let me go again. They let me do it immediately after. I did a walk-in, which is you do 2 climbs. They spent like $60 that day just letting me do walk-ins. And then I begged them to come back the next day. I was 13, and I would actually like throw fits in those first 2 weeks if I couldn't go back. I went it was like 15 days in a row. And then I went in and I asked them, could I climb today? And they said, no, we're not allowing you to climb today. You've been here 15 days in a row. You need to take what's called a rest day. All my fingers were just like fully mummified. And I've had that drive and psych ever since. It hasn't really wavered for a second.
I think that's by far the best description of a beginning of climbing like we've ever heard. That's crazy. You could literally hear the choirs behind, you know.
Exactly, dude. It was ridiculous. I just knew it. I needed it. Oh, I can still get chills when I remember every moment of walking in that gym, and so I want that feeling again with something. I'm just waiting for it to come.
That's so cool. But how does it work then in the US? You mentioned you were on a lot of teams. Like, are you on a team instantly, or how does it work in climbing in the US?
Yeah, as a kid, I was under the age, I believe back then it was 14, or it might have been 15 or 16, that you weren't allowed to climb by yourself in the gym, especially bouldering. I think you could have parental supervision for top rope, belaying each other, but not for bouldering. And so I had to join the team if I wanted to go frequently, because my mom wouldn't wait there, and I would have to find a partner every time or pay a lot. So I joined a team, and that's still true with a lot of gyms. You have to be part of a team if you're young. So that's what I did. I joined the base team, moved up to the next team within a month, and then moved up to the highest competitive team within like 2 or 3 months.
So all the teams, because it's quite different here, I'd say in Sweden. Like, so all the teams are sort of based on level, and it's all about competing, sort of becoming better and competing, or is it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the first 2 teams at most gyms, from what I've seen in my experience, is 3 or 4 levels of teams, and you have the first 2 are basically beginner, and then advanced or intermediate, and those are just participation. You're climbing with other kids, you're learning that community aspect, learning how to spot, and just getting taught on a basic level, not a huge level of commitment or involvement. And then you get to the competitive team, and most gyms are kind of grooming you to be a competitor in the beginning. They introduce you to that aspect, because that really is all there is for kids that they can really relate to from other sports. It's hard to get kids, I think, in the beginning that come to a gym that live in places that maybe don't have rock to go right to going outside. I think it's just daunting for most coaches and organizations. So they'll, kind of get them prepared for the comp team. And that's what I did.
Right. So, no, it's because I tell you this thing, I don't know, again, in Switzerland, but in Sweden is like most of the kids, like we have probably, I don't know, 1,000 kids in all our gyms, but very few compete, and none climb outside. It's just sort of an activity that you do, but no competition space. Well, there's like one competition every year, like for fun, but it's sort of not about competing, if that makes sense. To me, I have a hard time really grasping it, because what's the purpose? For me, it has to be a purpose, I guess they're chasing grades. Oh, that's a purpose. Good enough.
America, to be the best.
Yeah.
Why they
I have a question about that later, but
but how often have you been climbing in that age then?
Oh man, I was climbing probably 5 or 6 days a week.
So that's pretty serious, or like in the club or in the team?
Oh, the team was about 3 days a week. I built a home wall instantly, like month number 2.
You did?
Yeah. And then I asked everybody where are the real rocks, and I bought a crash pad instantaneously and was going outside, forcing my mom to spot me, develop this area, because there was nothing close within 15 minutes she would drive me to. So, yeah.
So you have been into the bouldering from beginning, not like into the rope climbing at all? Or?
Yeah, no, I was doing a lot of rope climbing. I was equal in the very beginning. I had a heavy bias towards bouldering though, and it's much easier to go bouldering by yourself, or with a mom that you maybe don't trust. She can just put her hands up a little bit.
I guess it's also easier to have a bouldering home wall than a lead wall, like at home.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, not easier, but I mean cheaper at least.
Definitely. Yeah, I didn't have the space for it.
No. But you started competing, and you were quite successful, I guess.
Yeah, a bit. I was never a massive success competing. I just everybody that I started competing against, because I started actually quite late compared to a lot of my peers. So they had been climbing for several years. When I joined, I mean, I got last in the first few competitions, but the ceiling was very high because the kids that I competed against were the one had won nationals, the other had come in second, and so they were amazing climbers. They were climbing V12 and 13 back when I was climbing V0, and so that's who I climbed with and trained with once I was climbing like V6, 7, and then you're chasing whoever's in front of you, and so I had to run. I was running fast, and I had a constant reminder of that's the next level. So it's when you see that this is the next level, you go through these quickly. Whereas if this is the next level, you kind of get there and these slow down because you don't have anything above you. I think that was absolutely massive. And I had a great training partner in the beginning, really good coaches, and made it to nationals my second season competing.
So that's, I mean, it's still quite successful, I'd say. I mean, not in terms of winning the first comps, but I mean, going through the ranks and getting to national in the second season. And I know that later on you were also on the national team, right?
I wasn't on the actual national team, but
but you competed on the World Cup.
I did, yeah. I placed well enough
right.
to be able to go to the World Cups.
How does this work actually? You have like the national team, and then you have some extra spots, or?
Yeah. If not everybody that's in the you have that top spot, so the national team, and then you'll have everyone below that. So if not everyone on the national team is going, they'll allow people to apply to go. And so I applied, and it goes based off where you are ranked. So I was one of the next ones below, and got the opportunity. I wanted to compete in all of them that season, but it is expensive. It's not being paid for.
Oh, you had to pay for it yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Which comp did you do? Like the
World
Cup?
I went to Meiringen,
Okay.
and then I went to Vail in the US. That one was much cheaper.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Well,
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So okay. Somehow, anyway, you got into route setting and coaching. How did that all start?
From the very beginning, when I got my home wall, I mean, I've been obsessed, like just absolutely kind of unhealthily obsessed with climbing. So when I got my home wall and I was working at the first gym that I started at, just doing party belays, I thought I was a setter. Anytime they were setting, I would bail on my session, just go over to them and give them my ideas. This is what I think you should do. And from the very beginning, I'm just, as you can probably already tell, I'm really talkative and extremely extroverted. So if anyone was climbing the gym, I also, I'll cover that first. I'm jumping all over the place. Just my coffee is really fueling this. I would talk to anybody who was there climbing and befriend them. And then if they were working on something, I would try to help. And I was really obsessed with understanding movement from the very beginning. And I was an artist growing up. I did a lot of drawing, sketching, and painting. And so I loved the art of creating an idea and choreographing movement and then visualizing what it would look like. So I used to draw like different stages of the climb. I would draw out my climb, and then I'd draw the person doing it and what they would look like. I'd try to put them in different body positions, and I'd bring it to the gym, and I'd try to find it existing on the wall. And if no one was looking, I'd even go back into the route setting room, grab holds and a wrench and put it on the wall and get yelled at and be threatened to have my membership revoked when I was like 14 and 15.
Wow.
But then, yeah. But I'd set on my home wall every day. I would, because the gym I set at would only go up to V8, I fished out the gym very quickly so I could do all of their hardest climbs. And we had a moon board where the original setup was you had like a piece of paper on the side of the moon board that had 5 boulder problems on it. So if you did those quickly, which I usually would in like a couple weeks, you didn't have anything left. So I would have a made up circuit of, I'd do all the hardest climbs and I would do my made ups as projects. So making up everything for years and years and years and setting on the home wall. I got a job at another gym. I was desperate to set, so I offered to set for free. They paid me, thank God. But yeah, I did that and was doing private lessons with kids on my previous team because I left the team. Once my first coach left, the other coach that took over was excellent, great mentor, but he couldn't teach me much in terms of movement. And so it didn't make financial sense. My dad lost his job in the 08-09 financial crisis. So I had to pay for my own membership. And I would rather pay for the regular membership. I was 16 at the time. So rather than pay for the team, which is a big premium.
I can imagine. Yeah. I think it was really fascinating that what you said about, drawing the positions and the visualizing and drawing it. How do you think that helped you with developing as a climber? This visualizing the movement and that whole process.
I think it expedited my understanding of how to force movements and what looks correct and what doesn't look correct. And so I was also I don't know what it was about my brain. No one told me to do it. I think I just got really lucky that I was pretty obsessed with understanding why the move didn't work. Like really, really would test it. And I remember I would go to the gym and I'd create made ups that I wanted to see this move through. I knew I wanted to have somebody get a high right foot in their mouth, cross all the way under, take a hold, stand up, and then do another move like that, almost like that new Charles Albert boulder.
Yeah.
I remember this distinctly. I have this one. It's still at my house. It's an image of doing that move. And I went to the gym and tried to force it. And every time I try to force it, I would also then try to break it, for like 30 minutes. And I would always be able to break it. And it drove me nuts. And I would kept making the drawing, thinking about the angle of the foot, like what can I do to force this move? And what would the hand be like? And I kept making the drawings and trying to make it so that there's no wiggle room. I need the knee like this. I need my body tilted like this. The hand has to be like that. I can't overcompensate. And it really forced me to go deeper, deeper, deeper. It almost felt like I was learning like, 5th grade movement observation and how to force moves. And then I would force myself to go to 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, because I needed to make it happen. And it really fast tracked my setting ability and reading ability and coaching.
So why is it important to force the moves?
I thought that was the coolest. Well, one route setter, his name was Hank. I remember he was one of the first route setters I ever watched. And I asked him, what's your secret? And he says, I just force moves. I want you to do it like this. And he was like he was a jokester, but also a little cocky. And that was like his way of joking. He was like, when I want you to do a move, that's the way you do the move. There's no other way. And that's why they pay me the big bucks. I was like, that's freaking cool. Like you are forcing people to have an experience. And when I would give my friends made ups, which was every session, I'd be like, you got to try this. And they'd break it, drove me nuts. So I wanted to really, really be the best at forcing a move. I want you to do it the way I did it and have my experience. And I want to feel that pride in knowing I'm so good at creating movements that you can do it in the way that I want it and no other way. Feels good.
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, biomechanics and size and so on must come into it, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I see it all the time here at the gyms. Like route setters, they always set with this solution of beta in mind, right? But I never do it because you can't see it, but I'm pretty tall. I'm 6'5", so I can never do their beta, and if they force it, I can never do it.
Right.
So I mean, that's. But I mean, if you sort of fit into the normal size, I guess it works much better.
Yeah, I guess if you fit in the normal size, I'll be honest. I think that nobody goes to gyms where there are a perfectly executed equalizer across all of the movements within the boulder. It's virtually impossible to do.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
Because if you do that, you're going to upset somebody. Somebody's going to have, the eyesore of having extra footholds is something that drives setters nuts. And it drives, the gym owner a little nuts because you're using so many more materials if you did that on every climb. And people don't like that. Customers sometimes don't like it. But whenever I try to think about this, and I've had this discussion with many other setters and coaches, there is no excuse for not just creating a move that's equal for a short person and a tall person. Within, of course, certain confines, there are some moves for a taller person or a shorter person that will inevitably feel different just based on the distance between the handholds. But you can, if you were to tinker and tinker and tinker, you could equalize the difficulty of both of the options so that no matter what they chose, the tall person, the short person would have an extremely similar experience based on the one that feels easiest. So you would just have to experiment and add an option and then really play with it. And nobody goes through that. I don't think I've ever seen an indoor set had more than a day or two of tinkering.
No, exactly. And it's the same thing with competitions, right? Like they shouldn't favor any particular size, but it has to, sort of, like.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
They just don't give options. That's the big one in the World Cups. They will never give, or rarely, I almost never give a worse foot higher up. At the short
Very
climb.
true. Very true. But anyway, we again rushing through here. You said you started coaching others on your whole team, and did you? I mean, you had a lot of experience, obviously, but did you have any training back then from coaching, or were you like self-taught, or how did it work?
No, I was self-taught. I had many coaches in many other sports growing up. Like I said, I was on usually about 10 different teams, like travel, club, school, rec, all throughout my whole youth. So I had plenty of role models for coaches and, just did a lot of reading, research as to the basics of coaching, taking in as many ideas and methodologies as I could. But for the most part, it's always been form a relationship and teach the things that are true and look at what the person's missing on the bottom level, clean up those and work up.
Do you tend to look at other sports when you sort of develop as a coach?
Oh yeah,
as well. Like even now, I mean, like methods for getting stronger or better and that kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm reading every single day. The literature options for climbing are quite limited, and so just understudied, underpublished. So basically everything comes from other sports, other fields of study. Yeah.
So would you say climbing as a sport is also underdeveloped compared to other sports then in terms of coaching and training?
Yeah.
Even on the highest level, I mean.
Definitely. Without a doubt. I mean, there's no real large governing body that's funding or really collecting minds together to run proper trials. Even the best studies have lots of flaws, limitations, and I wish that there was that maybe the IFSC or we could form another body that's just devoted to bringing coaches together and conducting studies so that we just need to raise the bottom level of coaching up and provide more fully legitimate resources because that's what's going to push the upper level up.
Right. And also, I don't know how, I mean, you could coach a lot of people, obviously, but would you say is it common to have a coach in the US? Like if you're like a normal climber going to the gym, is it as common as if you go to a weightlifting gym, like to have a coach, like a personal trainer? Is it something people do?
It's something people do. I don't know the data base of how many people have a coach in climbing versus how many people have a coach in weightlifting. My gut instinct would say that because weightlifting is simpler and I hate to say simpler, but it is a bit more straightforward and
For sure.
much more easily prescribed. I think that you can quite easily get a plan and do it yourself, and basically follow the methodologies of one school of thought or one form of training and get great results. I know there are people that do programming more for the sake of having that extra bit of accountability, guidance, and making sure that they're learning how to program for themselves at the beginning. And then I'm sure at the very upper end, every power lifter or
Of course.
big strength athlete has a coach. But in climbing, I think it's being much more normalized now. So I would assume that more people, basically the percentage of participants in climbing would be greater that have a coach than in weightlifting. Also just because, or just, fitness, because there are so many more people participate in it.
Yeah, I mean, it should be, but because, like I say, climbing is so much more complex than fitness or weights. But at least here, the reality is that way higher percentage in like fitness gyms have personal trainers than at climbing gyms. But I guess it's what you say. Like you need someone to basically hold your hand and say you're good.
Yeah.
Because it's not rocket science to understand how to train at the
okay.
gym.
So you're saying like that because if you're talking about working with like a trainer, because that's what we have here. Every fitness gym, any prominent gym that has multiple locations or has a good reputation will have many coaches that work at the gym.
Yeah.
In that sense, yes. If you're like using their services, you're coming in and working with them for sure. But somebody that maybe I was thinking remote.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Now it's at the gym. You come there and you have a coffee with your coach, with your personal trainer, and then he tells you do some push-ups.
Man, I would still have to hold my answer steady if we're talking about a serious athlete, like somebody that's really trying to train themselves to be, in the advanced or elite level. But if we're talking,
all right, no, I was talking more like
hobbyist,
your average Joe, like hobbyist, yeah.
Maybe
say like the V5, V6 climber.
It's tough.
I mean, they should really benefit from a coach in climbing, right?
Yeah, anybody can benefit from having a coach in anything.
Of course. Yeah,
but
of course.
I don't know. I don't know the data.
Nice, but it's interesting somehow. I think.
Totally. Yeah, I'd love to know the answer.
Yeah.
What kind of people do you coach actually then?
I coach the full spectrum. From I've worked with a couple of V2, V3 climbers that are just starting, maybe like a 5'9" climber, all the way up to V now 17 athletes, and it's the same concepts work. You just change the narrative.
How do you choose the people who they are coming to you or asking you about to help them, or do you search for them, or
they find me? I've never reached out to an athlete to ask to work with them. People will ask me to work with them. The only, actually, that's not true. I've reached out to a couple of people that were Instagram influencers that looked like they'd be fun to work with, and that we could do some cool collaborative promotions and a little bit of media here and there. But
and who were those?
That was Jonathan Sin who is he's a big name on Instagram. I think I worked with another climber. Oh man, her name's she's Antsy Pantsy. It's Valentina.
Yeah.
Chick. Yeah, I don't want to try to pronounce her last name. It's not that hard, but I off the top of my head.
Right.
But yeah, not too many.
Yeah. So basically, they come to you because you have a reputation of getting shit done. Basically,
Yeah.
We do climbers. They reach out to you to help. Like,
Yeah.
really?
Oh yeah, I love it, man. I love helping anybody.
Yeah. Okay.
Everyone's a person.
Yeah, for sure. I
person.
just imagine myself if I would be climbing V2 and then to reach for some private coach like that. I cannot imagine it. Yeah, at that level.
I know.
For myself. Yeah.
It shocks me too sometimes when people reach. I think those people don't know that who I work with or like my story. They just see coach and they're psyched that I've fun content. I look like a good personality that they'd mesh with. So they reach out and they're right. But I think I think most of those people, I mean, they're getting, I give them so much more than they pay for, but still for all intents and purposes, they could probably get physically what they're going to get out of my program for a lower cost. Skill wise and attention communication, they're not. I over deliver like a lunatic on that, but just because I have nothing else to do. This is all I do. Very well. But I know I'm shocked too sometimes.
But so I know you make like unique programs for everyone. Basically, it's not like a standard program that you're a V2 climber. Here you go. But I guess you also coach a lot remotely. I mean, I guess you talk to everyone, right? You have a sort of a phone call or meeting on like digital like this.
24/7 communication.
But you don't meet everyone in person.
No.
Nope. So how does that work? Say if I'm a V3 climber and I come to you, hey Charlie, I need to become better. How does it start? What do we do? We have a talk, but do you have like there's no screening, like how do you know how I climb, what I can do?
So that is going to be through the intake interview. I ask a bunch of questions that gives me all of the information to write what is their first plan. But anybody's first program that they get, I say, hey, I shared your plan with you. It's a first draft, always. Plan can never be a PDF. It can't be, static. It needs to be something that we're both shared on. That's basically like a whiteboard. Here's what I believe, based on everything we talked about for that hour, is going to be the best plan for you based off of what we currently know. We currently know. Now, for the people that really want to get better, we're going to do movement analysis of videos. They're going to get a video of themselves climbing. They're going to send it to me. I know they're going to be doing that. So the program I write for them is going to evoke movement. I'm going to probe. So I'm going to say, okay, I hear what you said, but I know based on how long you've been climbing, what your strength and weakness profile is from what you said. I want to check a couple boxes. So let me see in the beginning, and then I'll say, okay, just what I thought. All right, he has no idea what this concept is. All right, so I'm going to give him a 10-minute explanation video as to what he doesn't know, what concept that is. And then I'm going to now change your plan. So we're going to have a different drill now that you have based on what I just saw. And we'll do that 100 times throughout the 9 weeks, because the goal is eventually we don't have to make any changes based on what we're learning about you. We just get to, within a couple programs, a perfectly edited and finely tuned program perfectly for you. And then we just tweak it based on the seasons. If your schedule changes, what are your next goals? What's your performance? How have you been performing over the last 18 months, last 6, last 4? Are we seeing diminishing returns here? It makes it so much easier once you've made and tweaked and communicate. That's why 24/7 communication is crucial. And I beg people on that first call. And always, you please just text me. Just tell me when you need anything or you have an issue. Like, I can't make this perfect plan that just works forever, that we don't really have to work too hard. We know that we put in the work. If you don't tell me, we don't make those changes.
But how do you remember everyone? Like, you had a bunch of clients, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I text you, hey, shit, I can't do this. Doesn't work with my back or whatever. I just like, it's Björn. You know, do you remember everything? Do you have like notes of everyone? How does it work?
Yeah, I keep it all organized. I have notes on everybody. I have multiple categories of notes. So they're, what they're doing at all times, their current training, and then what I have them doing. I've got their plan. Then I've got their full supplemental sheet with all their data that they're filling out. I know what's going on. If they give me anything through text, they got like, hey man, my finger hurts. Okay, well, what happened? Then once I know what happened, finger hurt from blah, 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 takes 20 seconds. You copy, paste, you put it in their notes. Now I've got a fully live document on everything that's been happening. We're always debriefing. Every 9 weeks we hop on a call, but we've been talking the whole 9 weeks. So it's really just like a review and a conversation.
But I mean, that sounds, of course, super organized, I must say, which is of course necessary. But you also said you have HDAD, right? How does that work? Because normally the people I know with HDAD, it's like the organization skills are probably not on par all the time.
Oh yeah. Well, medication and caffeine are a combination. So I work 90 hours a week, like on average. And
how many?
90. About,
90.
Yeah. It's an estimate, but it's not really, there's like 5 hours of actual work in there. Like the rest of it is, it's work, but like I would pay to do it. Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. But like, it's just, man, it's there. Everyone's a project. It's so much fun. I've like all these constant projects that like, you don't even have to send all the time. You can just like high point and another individual is psyched out of their mind and thinks you're the best. And you have this awesome relationship. You have a friend that you can go meet up. Sorry, I'm getting way off the point. The ADA.
No, it's no, it's super interesting, I'd say.
For me, just one more question. Like I understand when, like, if you write a trainings plan and then you receive the feedbacks from the people who are climbing on higher level and climbing like many hours per week, I can imagine it, but I cannot imagine that like from people they climb V2, V3, to get so much feedback because, like those people, that's just their hobby, which I don't know how many hours spent per week, and that would be like more hours spent to give the.
Yeah, but then again, I mean, even if you're climbing V2, V3, if you contact Charlie, you must have a goal and you have ambition, right?
That's for me. That would be for me difficult probably to, if I climb V2, I won't be probably just better or, like, I don't know what kind of goal at that point.
No, they do. A lot of people, I'll be honest, about 50% of people get on the phone with me and they say, I just want to improve, or I just want to get rid of this small injury. I want to be healthy and strong. And that's amazing. I'm not going to, force you to have any other goal. I have no ulterior motivation at all for anything. Like even when I write the plan, I just want to accomplish whatever it is that you want. I want you to feel successful and fulfilled. But for people that come to me and say, I just want to get better, that's awesome. And we're going to do that. I can promise you that's going to happen if you just follow this plan and talk to me. But let's try to find a point that we're going to walk towards, because I can write you a general program as to how to get better at climbing. But if you give me even just one basic point, like I'm climbing V3, I'd like to climb a V3 in this style and that style and that style. Cool. By when? But I have no idea. All right, well, let's give you some time. I think based on my experience, that could happen by February 1st. Does that sound exciting? Oh, dude, that'd be awesome. Cool. Okay, so you'd feel really excited about that? Having that point, that SMART goal, acts as a speed boost. for so many people, so many reasons, for so many people, having that tangible goal and knowing you're going to a point and having that little bit of a daunting feeling, like, oh man, I got to work hard for this. It's going to be tough to achieve it by then. I can do it, but wow, a lot goes into that. That right there, that sweet spot, that's how you get the best out of somebody.
Makes sense. Because that's what was a question I had as well. Because like if you're a beginner sort of climber, you don't really know how to set goals, but you guide them through that, of course.
Yeah,
that's right. Do you coach men and women differently somehow?
A bit. I mean, in some areas, massively, but the generally, no. The biggest difference for me is the tone that I use in writing and just verbally. Kind of sometimes just word choice. They typically will have different goal motivation from my experience, and the way that they even frame the goals and their efforts in the gym. I think that women can, but there are also some men that tend to need to be, I guess, you need to notice and celebrate different things. I think it because women have different levels of priorities within their, just like what they're mentally aware of and what they're pursuing and what they want out of their efforts and their engagement with the sport. It's not so much of like I want to be better than, or I want to prove myself. It's more for them internally, and they love the experience, but also just following the the human body's cycles is something that you have to be aware of, and you have to make them aware of, because many women don't know about it.
Yeah, makes total sense. I have a question extra from Instagram here, which is totally related. What are the differences in climbing ability in general, I guess, between the genders in the teenage years? Like, I don't know exactly what he or she means by that, but that's the question.
The ability in the teenage years, man, if we're talking younger teenage years,
I guess because later you're more of an adult, really. Like,
from my experience, the only difference that I would say is virtually always going to be true, because there's really no performance difference between a boy and a girl in the early years. Both of them can be extremely beautiful on the wall. Their movement can be immaculate. Their mobility can be fantastic. Their strength can be amazing. They can both be mentally very strong and or be very weak mentally. I think kids have a lot of pressure on them in the beginning. Being a kid is really hard, especially in an individual sport. And the only difference I would say is that when the boys hit puberty, that explosive power and that upper body pulling strength takes off in those who get excited by it. The hormones start pumping, and it does. It happened to me. It's extremely appealing to want to do a one-arm pull-up and the campus. Your friend's proj in front of the girls on the team or the women at the gym, and
it's always popular.
Of course, no matter where you go, it's kind of ubiquitous. But I think that's really the only difference, is that big hormonal change.
Interesting. I got to ask you as well, because since you work all the time as a coach, but I guess you are at the gym training yourself sometimes. Is it difficult for you to sort of not get into coach mode when you see people around you making, stupid or, well, let's say stupid mistakes, like it's easily fixed?
Yeah, that's one thing it's so hard. It's so hard. Yeah, because I'll be honest, I'm not good. I'm not good about it. If I see somebody doing something, I will always offer. I'll say like, "Hey, man, if you want, I'd love to help you with that move if you're open to it. but yeah, it's hard. It feels like an obligation almost, like when you know that someone's struggling and they seem like, I'm not going to say that if somebody's projecting something and they're just trying something for the first time, or they've been projecting and they're enjoying it. But if somebody seems frustrated, and I can see I'd like to end that suffering.
Yes.
It's really hard to resist, especially because how many times in my career have I gone up and said something to help someone, and then a beautiful relationship blossoms from that, or they're extremely excited and happy, and I made their day, and they learned something new.
Right, and I think that as long as one asks first, like, can I help you or something, it's totally legit, I think. Why not?
Yeah.
But it's when you start, shouting stuff without asking first, it's
Totally.
yeah. Another thing you mentioned, you coach, for example, Noah Wheeler. You didn't say that here, but I know that. And I mean, he just climbed V17. Will probably climb another one pretty soon. It seems like. How does it work? Say, because to coach someone who is at the absolute top level, say if he comes to you and say, coach, I want to climb V19. Like, how you go about that? Because you say, okay, in 2 years, I want to climb V19. What do you do?
I mean, it's just the same things. You just have to make refinements. You have to clean up your process. He's clearly, there's proof of concept in anyone that's climbing V17. If you look at anyone that's at that upper end, or anyone that's had that upward trajectory, the reason that it stops, if someone's going like this their whole career, there are only a few reasons that it can stop happening. And that's if what they were doing when they were at this peak velocity changes. And those changes happen for many reasons. They either start something new, like a new habit. They will encounter a mental block. They will stop doing the things that have been working, that are those true concepts that maybe were responsible for their physiological changes. At Noah's level, the physiological adaptations that are going to happen from here moving forward are small. They're very, very small. And not to say that they are not enough to get to V22. They certainly are. That's without a doubt. And that number will exist. As long as we keep assigning difficulty ratings to anything, that number will be achieved. It just,
yeah, but that's what I mean, though. Like, we know what we know sort of what V17 is, and what it takes to climb V17, but we don't really know what V19 is, and thus we don't know what it takes.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah,
I mean, it's one thing to say, like, I can make you climb harder, but most of us, well, a lot of us, are chasing some grade.
Yeah.
Which, yeah. Well, keep going.
Yeah, I think, one of the big reasons that we haven't reached is because, and I think the proof is in the fact that Will Bosey has done so many. He's done so many. If you can do multiple V17s, and V17 is the hardest grade, you can obviously do the next grade. And especially since none of them took him very long. I don't think he had to work one longer than a year. And it's
no,
not at all. And I'm sure even for these climbs, the most specific training he's done is a replica. That's not just doing the thing is exceptional, but he didn't do any supplementary training. He didn't change his morphology. He didn't, deep dive and go through a new learning curve and a learning process of a very specific skill.
And also, sorry, Will, but it doesn't look super fit.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh man, he's fit in the right places, and he has the type of fitness you can't see. That's the most important type of fitness. But it's really opportunity. It's opportunity, and then honestly, I think it's just the ethos around the concept is that people don't really specialize because there's so many opportunities. He's probably being pulled in so many different directions. All these athletes are. There's also the new shiny candy. You know, every beautiful boulder that gets opened up has its allure of, I want that experience. I want to prove myself. And I want just the overall knowledge to know that I can do that. I want to know that I've leveled up in that way. I can do that, that my skills are suffice enough. But again, that's just, I'm going to take what I have, my raw skills, my raw strength, and I'm going to put it into this, give it a couple of sessions and see if I can learn it, see how long it takes for me to learn. But what I mean by opportunity is how many V18s are currently being worked on. Most of these V17 climbers are spending all their time repeating 15s, 16s, and 17s. And then you've got a couple of these guys opening up new lines. And it's the ones that are really, really hard, like the hardest ones that haven't been repeated or haven't seen a lot of maybe like visiting from other strong climbers, that may be the ones that are at that upper end. If it took the first ascensionist, who is very talented, a lot of time to learn the movements, because that's what's going to be the upward scale, is tiny little upward movements in skill or strength. You know, that's basically all of them, and fitness. So it's you in order to get to that next level, you need to have that upward movement in one of those two things. And it's always going to be specific. It's not going to be general. Right? It's not going to be like you need to be able to hang the Beastmaker middle edge with plus 60 pounds to be able to do that V18. It's like, yeah, that'll be helpful, but none of the holds are going to be a flat edge. You need to be coordinated and strong and have that full muscle application in this hold while doing this action with that leg, to have the coordination to come into this hold and have the strength and then you're going to need to put in all the hours to adapt the body, the muscles into those positions. So it'll almost be like a time commitment will be what creates that V18 level. You'll need to train in this way for that long to be able to do that move. And that's why it's so difficult.
Yeah, and at the moment, I guess it's not worth it for a lot of people. But I also guess that once we see even more repeats of 9As, I mean, it's not going to be as spectacular to climb a 9A. So then you have to move on to find the next 9A plus to get the same, response was like that, basically. Like, you agree? Like, once this 9A phase sort of, it's just not as hot anymore.
Yeah.
9A plus will come.
Yeah. If we wanted to fast track it, we would take all the top athletes. We'd take Sean Rabitou, we'd take Charles, we'd take Noah, we'd take Will, we'd take Aiden, we'd take, I'm missing a bunch of names, obviously, all the best. We'd revive Nale, get him the heck out of wherever the heck he's hiding. And we would take these guys to different boulders throughout the world that fit them, different projects that fit them the most, because they are currently the most adapted to this style. So if we want to find V18, we're going to put Sean Rabitou on, really poor holds in bunch positions with some very big power moves. We'll get Sean Bailey on it too. If we want some crazy hard, contorty, weird, twisted, technical fest, we're going to put Adam on it, and or Migos, and give them, high mobility demand plus massive amounts of strength and endurance. That will be a V18 or an upper end V17 in that category. But if it really pushes them to their absolute limit and takes tons of time and it's super specialized, yeah, it's probably V18. The 17s are quite general at this point.
Yeah, that's what Red Bull should do.
That'd be so sick.
Yeah, but it would be just like on the very top would be just like the people who can climb this style V18, but not the different style.
Right.
You cannot repeat all of them because it would be too specialized, right?
Yeah. Or you'd have to, I mean, at some point, I would imagine that like you'd need to get to, and maybe it's 18, maybe it's 19 or 20, but at some point it's like, I mean, dude, you had to have been doing this for 15 years in this style. Like, you need to have such unbelievable mobility and strength in a full split and coordination, like in that position, and all these years of experience in that. You're just not going to be able to do it. At this age, you're going to run out of time.
Yeah, until the Michael Jordan or Usain Bolt of climbing comes along.
That'll be
And
sick.
yeah, and this change the game totally.
Yes. Serato already exists.
Yeah, he does exist. He does exist. That's true. But well, let's see what he can do on rock as well.
It'd be so cool.
I mean, he needs to work on his mental game, though. I think that's his biggest obstacle right now.
I know nothing about him. Can't even talk on that.
No, it's just I'm just judging from what I've seen in competitions. Like,
Oh, okay.
but you mentioned Charles Albert's new problem in fauna. I've only seen like a glimpse where it does it, like in some promo for some, I don't know. What do you know about that?
No more than you do.
No,
It's
I mean,
Sawmill
it's
Rock.
obviously super hard, but
Yeah.
what the fuck?
I don't know.
I want to know.
You'd have to imagine that would be one of the closest we can get to the specialization. Again, I'd have to talk to you. I don't know enough even about Charles. Like, he looks like he's at the very, very top of finger strength on small holds because of how many hard lines that he's done in that style and how many hard things that he's been working on. He's put in tons of hours. It looks like it's a very specific type of movement. It's not very general. He doesn't wear shoes, so that adds something to it. Who knows if that makes it harder or easier of this climb.
Exactly.
But
that's the thing, right?
Yeah, he's like the bane of Fontainebleau, though. He was born there, molded by it, so that also plays into it. And that's something we didn't even talk about, rock type. And
I think it would be so cool if Charles started using all these, knee pads and gloves and all that, but no shoes.
That's hysterical.
Just full rubber, but no shoes.
Yeah, oh my God, that'd be awesome. The contrast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be good.
Back to the coaching. Who coached you? Or do you have a coach, or you are, so experienced coach that you don't need a coach?
No, every coach needs a coach. There's so many benefits beyond, just being caught. There's being reminded. There's having a partner. There's having accountability. There's having, a crutch to some degree when you need it. But I had a great coach in the very beginning who was unbelievably positive, supportive, really taught me how to climb for all the right reasons. His name was Steve Garcia. He was my first ever coach on my first team at Gravity Vault, Upper Saddle River, New Jersey. And then I quickly moved up to the next team, which was coached by Claudio Vidalescu, who is the current coach of Stone Summit's climbing team and has been for the last, I want to say 12 years. He was an awesome mentor, taught me a ton, really inspired me, and has also been a great mentor as a coach as well, and still see him every year at nationals. And then I had my coach Russell Santos, who was an awesome coach. He was the one who really helped me launch my setting career. He would let me set climbs. He would be my climbing funnel. I would give him the ideas. He'd put the holds on the wall, and he taught me how to try real freaking hard, got me outside, really glorified the outdoor scene for me, even more so than I had already had it. He reminded me, like, that's what you do it for. The competitions are cool, but he really taught me that you can't just have one thing. You need to be climbing for more than just outside or just in the gym or just comps. For me, it was very important. I think if anything, you can have just outside because it's just everywhere. You can go, every single one's different. It's always there for you. It's not your all or nothing to prove yourself. It has much more depth than just comps or just indoor climbing. But I still like to have both. And then I had I went years without a coach after him. From basically age 16 till 28, I went coachless. But then I reached out to Martin Keller, who has been possibly my most impactful coach ever. Martin is Swizzy Bouldering. You all know Martin.
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine. So
he's amazing. I thank him. I want to make a public thank you to Martin. He's an amazing person. Seriously. I want to work with him again soon, but I worked with him for a year. He was instrumental in breaking me through a long plateau mentally in my career and physically, honestly. Just really did what I do for other people, but I have never been able to do for myself to the level I'd want, is to make the habits and avoid the setbacks that lead to success.
how difficult is it for you? Because, you know, like if you are coach on like kind of high level, you have your strategies, you have your style, and to, you know, to believe someone who's telling you do this or think like this, how difficult is it?
It is very difficult. It is extremely conflicting at times when you think that your way is the best way. And you know, it's there, you cannot have blind faith. You can trust the process. Absolutely. You can put your, you know, your full trust in a coach, but when you work with somebody that has been climbing for so long, you know, Martin knew that I was who I was. And so there are many things that I have, as everyone has their truths. You know, I know this is true. Okay. I know it. And it doesn't matter if you know something's true or not. You still have to protect yourself from doing the things that will make it so that you don't get the result you want, even if you know all the right things to do. You know, we all know the right things to do in virtually every area of our life, but the dilemma is always doing it and having the discipline and consistency. So I put a lot of faith and trust the process with Martin, and that's what I needed to do. I was getting the same result, so I needed to make a change if I wanted to get a different result. And there were some things that I tried in the beginning and told him, Martin, no. I'm always open to trying new things. I tried new things too often, actually, but there are some things that I know that are here to stay, and I need to never waver from them, because they're the things that you can scale forever and will always be true. And you need to not let the new bullshit that pops up on Instagram distract you. That's one of the obstacles of people advancing, is new good idea over here. Ooh, I guess I'll go over here. Oh, wait, that didn't work, or it was about to work, but I didn't wait long enough because that one popped up. I'm going to go over here and, oh crap, that one. But there's one, and you just keep doing this. But if you stick to the things that are right, you can do this. And maybe if you get a new cool idea that works with this in tandem and doesn't take away from this, it can do this. And push it up a little faster and keep hitting. Those are speed boosts. They exist everywhere. And you're probably only, you know, when you play Mario Kart, a perfect run, someone who's the best in our sport, Janja Garnbret, in her career, she's been driving a very fast car. She's genetically very predisposed to succeed, but she's also put in a crap ton of work and done all the right things to make the body that she has and the mind that she has and the skills that she has. So she's decked out her car, and as she drives, she does all these right things. So she hits this speed boost, that speed boost. All the other competitors that have these great bodies and great minds and great skills, they have been driving that same course that she has, but they're just missing the speed boosts. They swerve a couple of them, just like you do when you play Mario Kart. And you can win races. You can have a great score, a great time, but it's not going to be the best time. And nobody has hit every speed boost. Janja's just hit the most, in my opinion.
Yeah. That's a great way of explaining it.
He avoided all the bananas. That's the one. And the fake boxes.
That's key.
Yeah.
Do you have some example of, you know, you say there are like some things which you would never change, like Martin was coaching you, and do you have some example, you know, like what you say, no, Martin, I will stay on my course like I did it forever and it works for me. I don't want to change it.
Yes. Oh, what are my truths? A couple of them.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that the number one truth for me is, and for virtually everybody, is projecting. People don't project enough, in my opinion. I think that if I had to say and this is just going away from some of the other truths, journaling is probably my number one truth. If I had to say that there was one thing that I was doing that wasn't something that I worked on with Martin, but that was something he encouraged, of course, and I kept doing. It was absolutely instrumental. But projecting was something that I needed to keep in, because when I have a project, whenever you have a project, the word project actually kind of is a little broad. I think it's more so what happens when you are projecting. It's repetition of something that's at your limit that you will eventually send, and that gives you proof that you've ascended this learning curve. You've probably gotten stronger, neurologically stronger, or more powerful, or more coordinated on these holds and movements. You've learned something. You can't not learn something, whether it's small and intra-session or intra-week or month. You're still benefiting and growing, and you're guaranteeing that you're improving upwards virtually every single time if you do it right. Of course, there are times where you stall, and regression is natural. If you you miscalculate your load of training, or you have bad skin, you get bad sleep. But if all goes well, you should see either a straight line up or some form of that going up. But I think that just is void from a lot of people's programming. They go, how many people do you know that go to the boards and they just pull up their app and they just swipe most repeated? They'll give that a try or two. I don't like it. Next. I don't like it. New set pops up at the gym. Ooh, I worked out white from last time. Hey, dude, you going to go back and try the white again? Oh, dude, new set. Okay, but that's cool. Yeah, for sure. But okay. I guess you don't want to guarantee improvement. You just want to chase the dopamine hit that could exist of sending the 9 that's easy for the grade or suits you, and that makes you feel great. And I think that inflicts a lot of people, or they just get stuck doing too many things that don't account for the full spectrum. The hanging, just doing hangboarding, or just climbing on the boards. You need, if your goal is to climb on rock, your goal is to climb hard boulder problems, the things that will help you in the most amount of areas is to have projects on different styles of climbs. That was massive for me. And the other one was rest when you need to rest.
Yeah.
If you're not going to have a great session in the gym and you're a strength or a power athlete, let's say you're a high-end boulderer and you really want to get better at your strength and power, and you're not feeling your most strong, your most powerful, don't go to the gym, or don't get on the thing that you would use to train your max power and strength. Do something different, low intensity, or do something skill-based. Who taught me that actually and really made that stick? Sean Rabitou. I was his roommate at the Meiringen World Cup, and I was asking him about his training. I was like, so what do you do for this and that? And he was like, I project, or I'll do board sessions. I'm like, when? He's like, oh, when I'm feeling my best. I can only get better when I'm at my most powerful or strongest. That makes sense.
But there's also something that Louis Parkinson said when we had him on for like last month or whatever, that because the problem, like you said, is most people go to the gym and it's a new set, and you climb the problems or routes that you think suit you or you can do, and then you wait for the new set, right? So that every time you go there and you want to perform, if you want to feel good after your session, you need to perform like hard grades, right, for you. But that does not always happen, of course.
Yeah.
So it's much better to go to the gym with sort of a goal to improve. What am I going to train today? What am I going to improve today? And sure, you can try something hard. You can try something to flash something, but it's always with the intention. It's with intention, because you want to train something, practice something. Because even if you fail, you haven't failed.
Right.
Because you have an end goal.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, we try to do our, perform at our best most of the time, like every single session, which you don't do that in sports, right? I mean, Usain Bolt, he doesn't go to when he was at his prime, he didn't go to the track and try to run the 100 meters as fast as he could every time.
Mm-hmm.
That's not training for 100 meters, right? But in climbing, that's what we do.
Yeah.
In a way, which is, yeah, that's the truth.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think what even supersedes having an intention, because you can go into, when you go to any area, or to climb or to pick a project or to even go in for the session, yeah, you have the intention, right, of getting higher up on your project or making better links.
Right.
That's a pretty broad intention, right? Like we know what it is. We know what the goal is, obviously. You go to the gym, you have the intention of improving your strength today or improving on heel hooks. That's fine and dandy, but you need to be intentional. And that is what goes with intentional, is the next layer of having an intention. And you need an intention, but within that, you need to be intentional with everything that you're doing. So when I place my heel, I am fully focused and intentional with where I place it, how I interact with it, how I feel, what I think after I'm done with the heel hook. When I come off the wall, okay, what happened? Where did I fall? Where did I land? What did that feel like? Let me watch the video. Okay, now let's write down what I had. Okay, got it, cool. All right, now next time I'm going to, because it's hard to describe what your intention is there. Yes, it's to get better at the heel hook, but it's being intentional with everything that you do.
That's the next step.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think you can kind of be void of an intention, but be intentional and progress with no limit.
True. But speaking about projects, you famously projected, or you're still projecting, I suppose.
Yeah.
The big island. You even made a 3D perfect sort of replica, right?
Yes.
Is it still there? The replica?
It is not still on the walls. That would be, I would be a menace to the New Jersey Society if I left that up for that long. But it's still there. Yeah, they're all on the volumes. The volumes are just in the back. And I'm bringing it out when I get ready. I'm doing a lot this year, so I am not ready to go for another month to Fontainebleau this year. But next year, that's the intention for sure, to go back and lock it down.
Because you also said on the podcast and the nugget there that this year, like when you went to Font, that last time for a long time, sort of what you said, because now your focus would be on family and not so much traveling, I guess.
Right.
But then you didn't send.
Right.
So what's the deal?
Oh man, I'm just as psyched. I really want to go back and do it. The problem was that I learned so much in that trip because I spent so much time on the first trip, feeling it, learning it, taking, getting all the imagery, coming back, feeling it, learning it, thinking about it, dissecting it, going back, working it, feeling it, learning all the little things I need. And I obviously have a lot more to learn for sure. But the biggest thing I learned is I do just need to be stronger. And I do need to be more coordinated on those movements. So I need more practice on it. And, I'm not perfect. It's also not my singular why of my existence right now. So I'm not giving it the attention it probably needs or the practice it needs, because I'm distracted just like everybody else. But yeah, I don't want it that badly that I'm going to make it my training all year, every year. I'd love to do it, but I'm going to enjoy what I'm doing now in my life and kind of take the attention elsewhere for the time being.
And do you feel that you're still improving? As I could, yeah,
absolutely.
Is this your longest project?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
So how many months, years did you spend on it?
Well, honestly, no. Well, it's my longest project abroad. I would say like, that I have had in the last couple of years. I've put in, I think it's 9 sessions on it outside. I've probably put in a total of like 30 sessions on it with the replica and multiple versions of the replica. But yeah, I've had only a couple projects that are close to home that I've put in similar amount of time to, but it's my longest.
But this,
Yeah.
like how, like in which, like in how many years did you put those tries on it? Like,
Oh, it's only been a year and a half, actually.
because I know Martin, he's known for, like his like 10 years project, which is super crazy for me.
Nobody has been projecting. No one can touch Martin in the project realm. I'm not even in the conversation. I'm not even close. He's just my idol for that. I'm trying to be like Martin in that sense. Learn what he's learned.
But how close have you come on the Big Island actually?
I have it in 3 pieces. So I was so happy with the progress I made the second trip. My training was really intentional. I think it's a boulder that definitely suits my style somewhat, but it's far beyond anything in terms of difficulty that I've tried in that style. And I made the training very specific to this couple of demands that I felt I needed most, and then went back to the boulder and felt them pay off almost instantly. So yeah, I need to make a little bit of a strength adaptation. You could, strength and power, and just go back and give it some more time.
That's cool. How did you make the volumes actually? From what? How did you like 3D print them, or how did it work with the volumes? The holes?
No, so those were wood. It's absolutely absurd. I don't know how stars aligned like this, but the wall that is at the gym that I train at is virtually the exact shape and angle, and it even has the break at the end of the Big Island. So we needed very minimal volumes, but what we did was we took the volumes, built them out to be very close to what the dimensions of the boulder were in 3-dimensional space. Of course, we couldn't fill in the voids in between them, and there's one section where my leg kind of moves where there would be walls. So I actually at the end was just clearing that space instead. But then we took the holds themselves and used the photogrammetry to balance out. Let's say like the volume, the real boulder's like this and the hold's like this. The volume comes out to here, and then we shape the hold to be like this. So it lines up down to the millimeter, and then the holds are exact. It's bonkers.
And the friction, the same kind of texture?
No, the friction's horrible. It's, the one in the gym is V17. I swear, it's so freaking hard, dude. Yeah, I don't think it goes. We poured salt on one of the holds, and like that actually gave it some friction because it's like that weird plastic. But yeah, I need to fix the texture for next time. But it's also nice because it's harder, and I can like get on there for training. But I was having somebody power spot me almost every time.
But if you can do the moves on that one, it's going to feel easy on the real thing, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I couldn't do many moves on the replica at all. So limit.
But you get stronger.
Yeah, well, yeah, sure.
So you think that would be the way, like in the future, for the V18s and stuff, just to build the replicas?
Yes, that's the fast track.
If it's not like behind your house or something, probably not.
Totally. Yeah. But even so, unless you live in an area that is, extremely stable in its temperature,
true.
And it's, humidity levels, like if you had it inside and you could just climate control it, you can have the same experience. And I mean, that helps a lot. with the temperature control, that's one of the reasons that the Lapnor project, Burn the Dreams, has been repeated so many times. Is Nale was in that forest, and it stayed.
Yeah.
Good. And when it rained, it stayed wet. Now it dries off, so you can go on a trip. You can probably get like 3, I would say like 2 to 3 days to every one that Nale had. So
yeah, I mean, I was there before they removed the trees, and yeah, you're totally correct, because it was like really trees all around and super humid in there. You didn't have the wind or anything, so it's, in that sense, it's a big improvement.
huge.
For sure.
I don't know if you've ever been to the Fontainebleau, but if you ever try to go to do Elefunk, or man, I forget the other awesome climb in there. It's that 8A plus that Nale also put up, and yeah, I've gone there 4 times. Yeah, it's wet every time. I've never had a session in Elefunk, and it's my number 2 climb I want to do there in Font.
It's from Fred, or
What's
Elefunk?
that? Elefunk, yeah.
Yeah.
It's an 8B.
So the traversy and then up, right?
yeah.
It's that sick move where you like take the Gaston, like flip into the different. It's so cool.
Yeah. Now, what I was going to say before when I sort of froze was that it sounds kind of expensive to make those replicas.
Yeah, it wasn't cheap. The guy that I worked with on it, the 2 guys, both of them did it with me as a passion project. And so I didn't pay anything out of pocket, other than I give Mark, who is he helped a ton with just organizing the whole project and 3D printing of the holds. I gave his daughter a full year of free coaching, and that was a good trade, because he footed the bill for the holds themselves. But he also was 3D printing. He has 3D printers at his house, and then he was a friend of the person whose company we used for the 3D printing of the holds themselves.
Another thing, when projecting or climbing outdoors or indoors, for that matter, skin, fingers. Do you have? Because I know you said somewhere that you had terrible skin. I have terrible skin as well, like the worst. Do you have any like skin routine, especially one and does it work?
Yes, works.
And what is it?
So from my skin type, I'm like you. I have terrible skin. It's just extremely wet, and it's almost like tissue paper. Where if I grab a crimp outside and I go to weight it, I pull, but my skin doesn't. It comes off and just split.
Exactly same as me.
Right? If you go to a sharp area, you get on something that's not even maximal difficulty. You pull, and if you hit it wrong, that's it. Day over. Literally day over. And climb with tape sucks. So the best thing for me has been antihydral, and there's a learning curve to it. It only gets a bad rap, like anything, right? It's like if you don't use it correctly, it's going to lead to poor results. But if you use it for your skin type and you follow the protocols that you need to correct it when it goes, there's like a range, right? There's super wet, super dry, and you crack and split. You want to be basically right here in the middle, and depending on what your goal is, maybe a little bit over here if you're an indoor climber, maybe a little bit over here if you're climbing outside and you're getting on sharper holds. So if I'm going to be climbing inside, I'm still, honestly, for me, I do want to use a tiny bit of antihydral, just a little bit, so I'm not pouring sweat, but not enough so that I am dry at all. I just want it to take away that little bit of excessive perspiration. And then, because my hands are like cheating for inside. I stick to literally any plastic hold. But if the hold's small, even inside, I tear. So that's been my magic bullet for sure. And then nourishing the skin with vitamin E and jojoba oil, I think is the best combination. It's something I actually used to use back in the day, and a client recently reminded me to get back on it because I used a bunch of other products, and they just don't do it for me. Honestly, I think a lot of the skincare products just, I don't know. I think they try too hard. So they work for some people, but it's the basics. Just give the skin what it needs. It's those two things have basically everything your skin needs for our sport. It's keeps elasticity high, helps rejuvenate, keeps it moist, but doesn't make it that like excessive moist. And if you do that in conjunction with antihydral, I can help you, Bjorn, if you want to know like how I apply it. It's pretty specific, and you can get 2 different results. I give this to anyone who has skin issues that I work with, and I'd say with 99% accuracy, it fixes everybody's skin issue. And like when you have good skin, for me, that can be a difference of literally 6 grades on.
Oh yeah, it's a huge difference.
Oh, and then you can climb all day. You have 10 times more fun, hurts less. Yeah.
Another good thing though is I want to know that though your skiing routine with the antihydral. But another good thing is which I tried is omega-3.
Yeah. Take it
it's pretty good for skin, I'd say. I mean, it doesn't work. I mean, I still can't pull on the sharpest crimpus. No way. But
Nordic Naturals.
For indoor climber.
Are you a Nordic Naturals guy? Is that the brand you use, Nordic Naturals?
Hmm.
No. I don't know what I use actually. Some
cheap shit,
yeah. It's crazy. You should tell Charlie the price of the omega-3 capsules you buy in Switzerland. It's I mean, it's Switzerland, so but
true. So
90 euros. So.
90 for how many?
3. No.
No.
You're buying fish, basically.
But they have been vegan, I think, so no fish.
Oh, cool.
That would be from the seaweed or something.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I'm a Nordic Naturals guy. They're great.
Nordic Naturals. Well, sounds good to me, but it's probably not from the. Is it from the Nordic countries or is it just?
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Yeah.
Norway.
I think so.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Made of the Swedish people.
Yeah. That poor Swedish people in Norway.
Yeah, they're just squeezing. That's the people's jobs. They just get squeezed and the juice comes out.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, they're from the Arctic Norway for sure.
Oh, I should shake that out.
Yeah, it does. It's funny though. You can start using it, and if you don't use it for about a month, it usually takes like a month or 2 to actually get it into the system and to see the results. So a lot of people start using it and then they stop because it's pricey and you don't see it instantly. But yeah, that has been a big change too. Healthy fats.
I'll try it. If it's even better than the stuff I'm using, could be worth trying for sure. We have just a few more questions. I know what you're waiting for, but it's not quite yet.
I don't even know what I'm waiting for.
Yes, you know. You will know when we get there.
Oh, okay.
But a couple of short questions. Most underrated training form, is it projecting?
Underrated training.
Yeah. For climbing.
Oof. Sheesh. No, I'd say the most underrated form of training. Well, I don't want to give away my secrets, actually. No, that's not true. It's anything that teaches your body how to use your legs, toes, and ankles and knees more effectively, and your hips. It's the lower body. I would say that if we did a poll, if we were to just like generally give a skill and knowledge and proficiency score to every climber globally, and we were to say, okay, the upper body, let's say like shoulders, elbows, fingers, core, they literally the abs and obliques, what would the scores be? I think if it were out 100, everyone's hips, like globally, the score would probably be 50 points lower for the lower body than the upper body on average. It's just atrocious how much it's neglected. And it's absurd how you have to get to basically V12, 13 to finally have that punch in the face. You're like, oh my God, whoa, I really need to be good at this if I'm going to go upwards. Otherwise, it's a long road ahead of just getting my fingers stronger slowly over time. Where if you haven't done the legs, like, dude, you're looking at, on 70% of the climbs you're going to be getting on a 20% boost that you could get in the first 3 months.
Would you say that's regardless of gender?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Probably more heavy in men. Let's just be honest. Like guys probably could benefit from it more. Women, I think just naturally due to the lack of that upper body dominance that is developed in what percentage of men that start or were just very athletic or did we're all men are just biased for many different reasons to be upper body focused.
Yeah. Cool. That's a good one. Good one. And most overrated training then?
Overrated, huh? Man, that is a toughie. I want to say board climbing, but board climbing is literally the best form of training. So I don't want to smack about board climbing. I think if you can do one thing, climb on boards, you can project on boards, and you can focus on your legs and mobility on boards, but it is only one angle usually, like in one, flat surface. Overrated. I'd have to say it's probably some form of hangboarding. Maybe it's, oh man, I don't know, because hangboarding has everything is great. Overrated, man, that's tough. Realistically, I don't. Oh, deadlifting, done. And squats, heavy squats, heavy deadlifting. Oh yeah, definitely the most overrated. Sorry, coming for you.
Interesting.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's not. I mean, usually the answer from the coach is fingerboard.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what the Roman said. Yeah.
Oh, that's
and
funny
also
because
Benny as well. I think
you can have trash technique and go all the way up to the top of the sport on just finger strength alone. So like let's cut the crap a little bit, right? Like I could sit here and be a knowledgeable sage coach and be like, you need technique equally as you need finger strength. It is so important. It's not just no, it's basically just fingers, this sport. Essentially. Like, as long
as you can hold on, you don't fall off, right?
Right. Like you just need to pay a little bit of attention to your feet. Like I mean, no, but essentially, yeah. If you can't hold it, you can't move on it. So your technique is based off your finger strength largely.
Right, but just because it's overrated doesn't mean it's bad, right?
Right. Totally. Yeah. Everything has its place and application. I think I more so think that people conflate the deadlifting protocols and the response and the adaptation you get with climbing improvements. I think people just look to it to really fix their footwork and give them more leg tension, and sure, it makes your posterior chain stronger and it boosts neural drive in those muscles, but like ultimately, I mean, I like to do this with everything. If somebody had the best deadlifting form, strength, power on the planet, how good would they be at rock climbing? What do you think they would, right? It's like, what would I think that's like a pretty good way to like evaluate almost anything, is if somebody was maxed out, they had 100% in deadlifting, but everything else was just normal human being. How good would they be when you put them on 20 different climbs of different styles? Now do the same with finger strength. And let's just call it crimping on a 20 mil edge. If I had to pick one thing, it would honestly be that. Not one arm strength. Strongest gymnast in the world. Sure, they'd probably, if they didn't have great finger strength, they were just a normal person, but they had that one arm pull. V5, maybe if it was the right one, but you put them on 20, it'd still probably be maxed out at V2, V3.
I'm not going to argue.
And that's not even saying we're going outside. That's just in the gym.
I just found another question here. Recently, when I've been watching, well, maybe not recently, but when you watch Instagram videos of cool moves, if it's Mehdi or if it's whoever, most moves they do are pretty sort of flowy, harmonic. Whereas if you look at the comps, it's all off balance, weird, and you have to move from one position to the other a lot of times. It's no harmony there. Like, do you think people train that enough? Like the weird stuff? Because I see too much of the flowy stuff, I think. If you want to compete, I mean.
Yeah. Oh man, it's like 9 different freaking avenues I can go here. I mean, well, the goal of the comp is to give you something that's going to basically, I used to like to say, embarrass them in front of the crowd. Yeah, it's, you want to give them, the crowd, something to watch a process on. You want to split the field, so you need to challenge everybody. And awkward and not flowy is usually what's going to do that to everybody. You need to challenge everyone. In order to challenge a population, you have to make something extreme so that it's away from what's in their, you know, their wheelhouse. And that's everybody. You know, there's a full spectrum of talents. And that's why obviously there's separation and people can rise and come down in the rankings and finals or in any round. But I think that the people that get the best results are the ones that train in facilities where the most amount of awkward, and it's, you know, awkward is only awkward when you're unskilled in it. So it's when you're a highly skilled athlete, you know, like Mori, she's an extremely skilled athlete, yet she lacks the power. So Mori really doesn't look clumsy on many of these coordination moves, or like virtually any moves, in my opinion. She just can't get the distance, or she doesn't have the speed. But then you have other athletes that have the full spectrum of coordination, like Meji, like Tomoa, like, you know, whoever is a fantastic coordination athlete. And it's whoever is the most coordinated in general and the most skilled will look the least awkward on average across the full spectrum. Of course, everyone gets that thing that just didn't work for them, but it's, yeah, how much climbing practice are you doing? How much are you able to do? And the Japanese why are they the most coordinated and the most skilled? Because in their culture, proportionally, in their training, they do the most climbing. They don't really lift weights. They don't do any supplemental training beyond mobility work. And maybe they'll campus on climbing walls. So that's why they move so naturally. And because they do that, they allocate so much time to doing stuff like that. Then you've got the other aspects of where their gyms, there's so many people slam packed together in Japan. It's a very small country, high dense population. And you've got so many of these elite level athletes at every gym, because of that, all pushing each other upwards. So every gym needs to set, right? Just like for a World Cup, you need to challenge them. So things need to be high skill demand, very awkward, and challenging in this way. And there's setting culture is also very prized. They put a ton of effort into making these things masterpieces, but awkward and high skill dependence. So therefore, by default, they're climbing more often and for longer hours on higher level, more skilled climbs with more competition around them. So any athlete like that, and the same thing is in France, right? It's a huge climbing culture there. So that's why, you know, now we've got Salt Lake City where we put all the best athletes together. We've got very awkward moves coming out of there. So now our athletes that train there are going to get better results and improve faster than in other parts of the country. So it's, yeah, but everyone, again, in Slovenia, same thing, small pocket, lots of climbers, they train together. So the more your setting team caters towards you and tries to challenge you and make you feel awkward, the better you're going to do on those. And yeah, I think that awkward is just a function of being unskilled. You know, beginners look awkward on things that should never be awkward because they're unskilled.
Yeah. At the same time, at commercial gyms, climbers really try to set problems that are nice and flowy.
Yeah.
I mean, you grab the hold, you swing, and there's a foothold, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, which is nice. I mean, it's nice to climb on, but maybe it doesn't challenge people enough. That's exactly what you said. So.
Yes, it's nice to climb on immediately.
Yeah,
everything is nice to climb on. Everything can feel beautiful and flowy and look elegant and effortless. You just have to be skilled at it and learn it. And these things you don't require a lot of learning. It's basic. Foot there. I know this simple body arrangement. Foot there, flag there, lean back, reach. But when the foot's up and in and turned sideways, and I need to turn my knee all the way out and squeeze inwards with my ankle and do a little bit of a version to pull inwards. Oh my God, I'm so focused on this, that left leg that should be flagging is like, in my head, I'm over cranking to pull myself up. My body just doesn't know how to do that. So yeah, it's going to look like crap. It's going to feel like crap. And the performance is going to suck.
Question is how much this will fuck up everyone's knees and shoulders.
Oh, if we were to do that to the general population?
Yeah.
Depends on the move. It might even be better for the knees and shoulders if they're moves that require you to learn and you can't even load the joint.
Yeah, that's true. If you can't load, it's no problem. That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, people would be messing themselves up even more.
Yeah.
Trying ridiculous methods.
Dude, shit, I feel we have so much to talk about. We have to have you on again. Because it's, I mean, it's almost 2 hours and we need to get to our 3 serious questions.
Let's do it.
All right. Will you take the first? You want to take the first one, Vladek?
I will.
Okay.
You ready? How much do you bench?
Oh shit. Not enough. Next question. No. My 1 rep max is 200 pounds.
That's not bad. That's like 90 kilograms, right?
Yeah, about.
Thereabout, yeah. Oh, that's quite decent, I'd say. It's way more than Adam or
Mehdi
or anyone, yeah.
Not that right now, I can tell you that. I'm not.
No. Let's say 200. Fine.
It's that forever, whenever I want it.
Yeah. Once you've done it, it's totally. It is what it is. Yeah. So next one is one armors. How many?
Really? Or lifetime PR?
Let's go with the PR and pretend it's always like that.
Oh yeah, lifetime PR, 14 on each arm.
14.
That's not bad.
I worked way too hard on one arms. All my climbing stalled out for like a year to do that.
All for this, to be able to say you can do 14.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And to blow the person who watched me do its mind. It was worth it.
Is she now your wife? No.
No, it was Joe Moravsky. He's a ninja warrior from the US, and we used to compete on stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
no woman would care about that, right?
No, God,
unfortunately,
they do. They don't.
They don't.
No, right now I think I can maybe do 5, but yeah, I wish that were bigger.
So that's upper body.
Yeah.
And let's try it with the pistol squats.
Pistol squats. Ooh,
yep.
I'm good with a pistol squat. I did my PR is 25 on each. Well, 25 and then 20. Right leg, left leg. Right now, I don't know how many I could do. Probably. Maybe that. I don't know. I don't really feel like my leg strength wavers too much.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. I could hardly do that with 2 legs.
Dude, I watched my friend do 50. 50.
What?
Yep. No assistance, obviously, just in the middle of the room. He did 50. So I had to. I think if he hadn't done that, I probably would have done like 10. Maybe.
50.
But to the floor, back up.
Is he really short with really short legs?
He's really short and he's extremely powerful lower body.
Yeah.
He's 5'5", I think. Which I have no idea what that is in centimeters.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
160, I think 165, something like that. Yeah. Cool.
Well,
again, like I have so many more questions, but I guess we need to have you on again. This was such a blast.
So thank you very much for having you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was nice. Thank you so much, and we'll be in touch.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That would be really cool to do again. I'll come up with some good content for you guys. I'll be cooking.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, man, and take care.